There is that noise.
We'll get it from the beginning there because it shows it, like just a picture of it.
Yep, I'm ready to run away now. Hey, and welcome to episode 4 of the Hunter Fishes Podcast. Glad to have y'all here. We've got Danny Arballo, Mr. Brazalo.
Mr. Brazalo.
Brazalo Custom Lures. How
Yes.
you doing, Danny?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good.
Well, thank you for coming on here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to ask, just right off the bat, I've got a lot of stuff I'm going to ask you, but right off the bat, everybody asks me, what in the world does Brazalo mean? So go ahead and...
Okay, so Brazalo was, my wife Carrie and I, we've been married for about 5 years, and we got married when we were older, and we went through this whole, we were kind of like in this joking stage of, I didn't want her to change her last name because she's been carrying her last name, her whole life, and, it wasn't something we needed to do, and then we kind of got crazy one day, and we were like, let's just both change our name. So we had all these mismatches of, my name and her name together, and Brazalo was one of them. And so my wife's maiden name is Brazil, and my last name is Arballo. So we put the two, the B-R-A-Z is her part, and then A-L-O is my part, so Brazalo. And that's how we came up with that. And then when I started the jig business, I just picked that one up out of the clouds. I was like, I'm going to use that one.
Well, I picked up on something here. Your last name is what?
Arballo.
So I've said it wrong and you've never corrected me all
No,
these years?
everybody says it wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's.
Now I know.
Yeah, it's been butchered so many times. It's just like, whatever. You're close. You got it. You didn't get it.
Well, no, I was asked at a show the other day. Somebody said, why, well, Jim from Stick 5, he was like, what in the world does Brazalo? I said, man, I think it has something to do with their last names.
Yeah, it is.
But I don't actually know.
Yeah, that's what it is. And a lot of people ask me, and they think it's cool. And it was just, I wanted something that included her into it. And and that was our, and she helps out with, some of the stuff and kind of the light duty stuff she does. And then, we do all the heavy lifting. Josh and I do all the pouring and painting and twisting and all that kind of jazz.
That's right. You're talking about Josh Womble, your one employee.
My one employee, Josh, man, there's not another like him, man. I wouldn't trade him for the world, but, he is something else.
Well, tell me a little about who Danny is before Brazalo. I know you fished.
Yeah, I've been fishing my whole life, ever since I was a kid. I grew up in Chicago, so we used to fish up on the Fox River, out suburbs of Chicago, and so we fished at the Fox River, Fox Lake, and we fished Mill Creek and stuff like that. And then when I was 13, I moved to Texas with my family and stuff, step family and whatnot, and that's when I was introduced to bass fishing. We fished on the farm and fished in ponds and stuff, and I was hooked ever since then. My first bass I ever caught was about a 2.5 pounder, out of a pond, and I was hooked. I didn't fish my first tournament until I was out of high school. I was in my 20s when I fished my first tournament, and it was like, it was done. It was like, this is the way it's about to be. We fished, I grew up around fishing. Wright Patman was the first time I ever fished on a lake. So I grew up.
Which is a wonderful lake.
Oh my gosh, man. It was, we have lots of stories about that. But yeah, I knew we fished Millwood a lot, and I know Millwood like the back of my hand, and Patman too, and we fished Toledo Bend a lot and stuff. So grew up a lot fishing, and and then when I came to Arkansas, I set fishing down for a long time. I actually sold everything I had, and I was working so much for FedEx. And then, a lot of life changes happened, and I thought, who is Danny? And I had to go through a lot of stuff, and finally I picked the rods back up, and the rest is history. Here we are. I started making lures that I always wanted to do, and then it was just kind of steamrolled from there. It's kind of, it's a rock rolling down a steep hill.
Did you plan on selling lures when you first started making them, or was that just for you?
It was just for me.
Secret lures.
Yeah, it was
Now
just
everybody buys the secret lures.
yeah. Well, and it all started with that black blue chartreuse jig. That's where it started with because that was the jig I threw all the time, everywhere. That and kind of a Texas craw jig. And I just after Carrie and I were together, I had my little shop to work in. I thought, well, I'm just going to make my own lures, and I started doing it. And next thing I know, I had some buddies that wanted some of them, and then I started selling them out of the back of the truck, and so on and so on and so on. And now we're traveling the country, selling them at trade shows and online, and almost 30 retailers. It's like I've never imagined that would have turned into that.
How long now have you kind of done it as not your sole career, but how long have you been selling them? When did you make it a business? We're in 23 now.
I think we're about 6 years. We're
6
right at
years
about
in.
6 years of actually selling.
Right.
Selling to out to the public and stuff. I think it's been about 6 years. Yeah.
And 2 years into it being your
October 21, October 4th, 2021, I walked away from the trucking industry that I'd been in for 25 years. 25 years. And I was like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it, So I was like, well, if it flops, I can go back to the trucking industry. If it doesn't, I ain't looking back.
you just couldn't keep up, I guess. You had to.
No, it was, I got to a point where, I worked 8, 9, 10 hours a day at my regular job. And as soon as I came home, I saw Carrie for a few minutes, and I went straight out to the shop, and I was working until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I worked swing shift, so I was, I didn't go in till noon.
Right.
And it just got to where it was just too much. I was working 7 days a week, and I went, kind of need to make a decision here. We struggled with it for many months. It was a long time that we struggled with it, and then finally we just kind of made the decision to make the move, and it's still scary every single day.
But you've grown so much. I would say really since you went full time with it, you've grown exponentially.
Substantially. It was, and it gave me time to hustle.
Right.
It gave me a lot more time and a lot more freedom to get out and, get my hustle on and really put the product out there, put more time into social media and start traveling and going to shows, more stores, so where, I could dedicate all of my time to it. And, it's really grown. 2023 is going to be, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be crazy. It's already started out pretty wild, and it's going to just, it's going to be even more than that.
How many states are you in right now?
As far as
dealers,
I think we're in about 10 states, 10 different states. We've got, most of it's all southeast, though. Most of it's a lot of southeast, and we're looking to hopefully double. Our goal is to double retailers this year from what we have. Because you have one retailer that moves a lot of product, another one doesn't move as much product, so it evens itself out. So and we're hoping to, whether it's an online retailer or a brick and mortar retailer.
What kind of goals? For Brazalo, is it you want to be national? Do you want to be where you can't keep up with it and you buying a facility, or don't want to be that big, just want to?
No, we're rolling with the punches. We're just kind of like, I have in my mind where I want to see Brazalo go, but it keeps changing. We've got some stuff that's kind of been presented to us, not necessarily like business opportunities for other avenues or anything, but our business model has been changing a little bit, and we've had some ideas for another way of growth, and that'll all come to light here later on this year. But I'm just kind of rolling with it and letting it grow. And if it gets to a point where it just kind of goes and it gets steady, where it's just doing its thing, then we'll just run with it. And if it just keeps on growing, then we'll just grow with it, and we'll just keep changing and keep finding new ways to make it keep growing.
And this social media, that's crazy. Like,
it's
that's
nuts.
How it grows, or a lot of how it grows.
It's definitely changed the game. It's definitely changed the game because it's allowing us and other companies like us to put, this great product out in front of people that would have never seen it before, and putting it out there in different ways. It's definitely opened doors up for us and a lot of other people too.
I know you. We were talking a little earlier. Our friend Trevor, which is one of my guys, one of my sponsors, Motivated Fishing. He's both of y'all travel together, do a lot of shows together.
Yeah,
Kind of feed off each other to grow.
correct.
And you were saying how many between the two of y'all? What's your reach on social media?
Between the two of us, we're over 100,000 followers between the two of us, and it grows. It's growing crazy every single day. It's like every time you open up one of your social media pages, you've got a list of new followers. And Trevor's reached a point now where he's gaining them faster than I am, and we'll eventually start catching up to each other. But yeah, it's just a crazy.
It's like a snowball.
It's
like
it
rolls,
is.
it just gets bigger.
It just goes and goes and goes. So we're big on supporting other local companies, other small companies. Bringing them up, and our reach to help them is way further than they could have ever imagined it to happen. So it's good for us to do that, and it's just our way of trying to help and give back to what we've been through, and help them as well.
What percentage do you think of your sales come from followers?
At least, I would say at least half. Definitely new followers, new
Right.
customers. It's I would say half come from that. So we put a lot of energy into that simply because we don't have brick and mortar all over the place.
Right.
We're not in big distributors where our product is being distributed all across the country, so we have to use that. And then, half of, the other half of it is 25% is word of mouth, and the other 25% is us traveling, and putting that product out in front of customers at these trade shows and stuff. They walk by and they see us. We're very inviting. We bring them in. We show them what we're all about, and the quality of our product. And that's how we get those people. And that's why we travel for 3 months, 3 to 4 months,
Like carnies.
Oh, man, it's oh, dude, it's so, you get so excited about it that you're like, oh, we're fixing to be traveling. It's going to be a good time. Then you're about halfway through it and you're like, I'm just really ready for just to be home.
Man, I've only worked 2 shows this year, and one was local, Big Buck Classic, and then just Ohio the other day, and I'm over it. Like, I'm ready to go fishing.
Oh yeah.
I've had as many shows as I want for the year after 2.
Yeah, I have. We get a lot of continuous questions. Like, a lot of questions are repetitive that come through the booth, and one of the questions that, or not a question, but it's a comment. People that are kind of new in the industry or whatever, they're like, well, I've always wanted to do this too. I think I'm going to start making my own baits and selling them. And the first thing I'll ask them, do you like to fish? Oh yeah, I love it. But don't make baits because you'll never have time to fish. And they look at you like you're crazy. And I'm like, I'm serious. Like, the boat will just sit there.
You just get to see pictures of fish
I
with
do,
your
I guess.
bait hanging out of their mouth.
Yeah, and I go, oh shucks, I wish I could have went.
One thing that have you ever been hit up for a sponsorship?
Yes.
Is it nonstop?
Pretty much.
What do you, just for aspiring fishermen, what do you look for? Like, some of them are like, hey, I want your product, and you're like, bye. But some of them bring stuff to the table. I hope
They do. So first thing off, whenever I've made videos about it and stuff like that, because we get approached in every which different direction. The first thing I'm going to look at whenever someone approaches me about some sort of sponsorship, are you already using my product? Because if you're not using my product and you're just off the street or off of TikTok or Instagram or something like that, and hey, I love your product, it's great, I really want to start promoting it. Well, are you using our product already? No. Okay. Then what, how can you sponsor something that you don't know anything about? You don't have faith in it.
Right.
And it's like I approached you about a sponsorship. Now that's a different scenario. We don't really have a pro staff, so to speak. Pro staff terminology has kind of gotten abused over the years. So we have a few sponsor anglers, and then we have a few anglers that they promote our product. In turn, when we know that they're turning customers into us, then we help them out. We hook them up with free product or discounted product and stuff like that. But it's all anglers that we've approached. So it's kind of that pro staff game has really changed a lot over the past few years with the growth of social media. Has kind of exploited it a little bit. So I don't know. It's kind of something I try to tap dance away from. Not around. I try and get away from it, but it's out there. So we get approached for it a lot.
For the guys like myself and the others that are a part of it, I'm stuck on the social media. How much? I mean, is that a big part of those that do help you?
Yes, that's our main way that we can track it.
Right.
It's our main way we can track it. We can see it, and we can see the work being put in. Now, can we see the sales coming in off of that? About the best way would be if, say, you went out and won a tournament on one of our baits, and then all of a sudden we saw this increase in sales on said bait. That's a way for us to track that.
Right.
So yeah, that's the way we see it. On social media, all the social media platforms. I look for it. Definitely, when someone tags us in something, I go straight to the post. I want to see the quality of the post. I want to see, what was tagged and what was explained in it. I look at every aspect about it, and then when I see it repetitive times, if so puts an order in with me, hey man, I got you, or I'll throw extra stuff in there with it and stuff.
Right.
So, yep, definitely got my eye on it.
Tracking it probably a lot more than people realize.
Oh yes, definitely.
And
yeah.
I know I've posted stuff, and you've sent me a text, and different things. It's like, oh, he's on that. Like, he's not building jigs; he's looking at his phone because that was quick.
Oh yeah, and that's part of the business. It's
Right.
like because when we're sole ownership in it, so we are the social media company, we are the shipping company, we're the production. We do everything. So
Right.
we have to watch all of that stuff and watch it grow, and to see how we can learn from it or how we can grow from it. So it's kind of a big piece of the pie for us, big piece of the puzzle for us.
And I hadn't done this fishing thing forever, but I've been actively working with sponsors for 15 years probably, and it's changed so much. Like 15 years ago, it was just show up, work shows,
Yep.
tell people. I had business cards with another jig company before you were even a thing.
Correct.
And when I would do well, and I had a co-angler in the boat, they'd be like, "Dude, what is that? What is that bait?" And I just hand them a business card. Be like, "Here, call
this
buy
guy.
some."
Yeah, call this guy. Yeah.
And it's so like I'm having to adjust all the time, more and more towards social media. Because I'll be honest, I like looking at social media. I wouldn't care less if I ever posted again.
Yes.
But I try to post at least 3 or 4 times a week. In the winter, sometimes deer get on my mind, and I don't post as much. But most of the year, try to keep an ongoing post going, and it's just crazy how much to me it's changed, and even 5 or 6 years, how much the need is there for an angler to have to pursue that.
And I'll be honest with you, I really don't care for social media. If you
Right.
go look at my personal pages, go look at my personal Instagram page. Go see when's the last time I posted on it. 'Cause
Right,
it's just something out there. But we have to for the business.
Yes.
So we have to. And when I first got on TikTok, I didn't know what to do with it, and it was just like it started like wildfire right out the gate, and it has evolved. It's become it's obviously a way for me to show off my product, but it's also become a teaching tool for us. Because like you, I've been fishing for a long time. I've seen a lot of ways to fish. I've seen all these weird ways to catch fish and these neat little tricks and stuff that, there's a whole genre of angler coming up that they don't see this because the fishing industry is very secretive.
Yes.
We want to keep everything to ourselves, and so, there's going to be a handful of us out there that teach. We show those little goofy tricks and why it works and stuff like that, and that's what it's kind of turned into for me. I've gotten into I'm late 40s, so I'm not going to chase that competitive edge anymore. I fish tournaments. I'm still competitive, but I'm not that dream of mine to go off and be a professional angler is gone. It's out of my mind. So I'll just teach. I'll just teach people how to be better fishermen, or any way that I can. So
Right.
that's part of what our page is about too.
Well, let's talk baits in particular.
All right.
I've got something I just thought about. Ow, do you hear that pop?
I did. Is that your
was
chair?
That was my elbow. You're kind of the bait that got you started growing would be the bushwhacker. Am I correct?
It is the bushwhacker.
It got a lot of attention.
It is a bushwhacker.
All right. My man Alex over here may kill me, but get your phone out and play that. It may blow these.
Oh.
Can he play a sound?
Well, I have to turn my phone back on.
Oh, okay.
But we'll let it load up.
Okay.
And we'll just set it off to the side and let it load up.
Okay.
But
He's got a very, and this can be part of it. He's got a very annoying sound that plays over and over at these shows, but it's the sound of this bait, and it's phenomenal. Like, it catches fish, but he just plugs in, plays it for like 10 hours a day at these shows, and makes you want to run away when you're in the booth.
yeah, so we've gotten this wild idea now. We finally realized that me playing the video over and over and over again at these shows, it runs thousands of times through a show. I'm not gaining any views on it. So I'm basically going to make an extra account for myself, and it's just basically going to be Brazalo fanboy or fan club or something like that, and I'm just going to play that video over and over again.
Are you playing it off of TikTok?
Yeah, I played it right off
I
of
could have done
TikTok.
that on my phone. I thought you had an audio of it, like just an audio.
No,
clip on your
I
phone.
changed phones, so I don't have the audio anymore on it.
Oh.
We're going to get new audio on it this year. We're going to, we got to focus more on a lot of that stuff,
Right.
and cameras and actually showing people how it gets out on the water and does. And last year, like I said, I didn't know where TikTok was going to go for us, or where social media was going to go for us. I didn't know which direction to go. I didn't know what to do with it. And then as the year progressed, it was kind of like, oh, well, I can do this, and I started doing this, and I was like, oh, well, next year, guess what we're fixing to do? Because we had some times on some lakes where we were actually just hammering them with it. And there's a small window of the year where it's absolutely bonkers on that bait.
And just to clarify, for those listening who might not know what bushwhacker is, it's a buzz bait.
It is a buzz bait.
Sorry, go ahead.
It is a buzz bait.
There is that noise.
We'll get it from the beginning there, because it shows it, like just a picture of it.
Yep, I'm ready to run away now.
Yeah, so anybody that was a vendor that near me at the shows, I completely apologize, but yeah, we have to play that, and we play it on a loudspeaker, shot straight up in the air, and you can hear it. Some of the shows we've been to, you can hear it through the entire building, and like Columbus, Ohio, you could hear it at the end of the aisles and the next aisles over. Because it was so loud in there, but we have to have it on that speaker, and it draws them in, and they come looking around, and they're like, where's that coming from? So it's right there on the speaker. Oh man, that thing sure is loud. And I said, drew you in, didn't it? Yeah. Just imagine what it does to the fish.
That's great.
Yeah.
But that was kind of your thing. I mean, you were making jigs, but that was kind of your thing
that was the
kickstarted
thing, and I never expected that to happen. I never in my life expected that to happen, and that was actually something I made for myself. That, I mean, it just,
that was one of those secrets.
yeah, definitely. Well, it really wasn't even a secret. It was just, I've been a buzzbait fisherman my whole life, and I've fished with every kind of buzzbait out there. Imagine. Throughout the years, you remember I don't know if you remember the dancing buzz. We used to fish with those, the big long buzz baits. I still have people ask me to build that thing, and all these different, booyah clacking style buzz baits. Squeaky Dolphin from Reaction Innovation was a really cool buzz bait, and all the Hydrilla Gorillas and Boogermans and
If they're listening to this and don't fish, it sounds like you're speaking a different language.
Oh, I know it. And they're all different clacking style buzz baits, and we basically took a multitude of different baits and made a buzzbait. And when I say we, I made the main portion of it, and then I had another friend of mine that helped me kind of refine it, and we came up with different ideas together, and then we kind of refined it down to what it is now, and it turned out to be something more amazing than I imagined. It's still the coolest thing that I will ever build in my entire life. I still laugh every time I catch a fish on it. It's still like, it's like a party every time we're catching a fish on it.
And there's dealers that stock basically that. I mean, that
That's-
don't even they just want the buzzbait.
No, I walk into a store, and Trader Bill's, for instance, went over to Trader Bill's in Hot Springs, and I was showing him all the jigs, and Philip was over there looking at them, and he was just like, and you could tell he was looking at what I had in my hand. And it's the grand show, as I call it. I'm showing him the jigs and spinner baits and all this. This is what I make. And then I slide the bushwhacker in front of him. He's like, yeah, all this is jigs or jigs. But I don't care. I want that. So we start off with it now. We start off with it now.
Well, besides the bushwhacker, obviously, and we're not going to make a big long rundown, but
Yep.
all types of jigs.
All types of jigs. Everything.
Spinner baits,
yeah,
custom order on the website.
Correct. Yeah, and everything's crafted in-house.
Right. I've seen it all. And in-house is small.
Yes.
Like, people
are shocked when they see how much product we push out of that place.
Yes.
We're actually looking at getting a new building right now. So
that everybody's like, oh, he must be a giant company, and then it's like, it's just you and Josh.
Yeah. The way we position the camera in the shop, everybody thinks the shop is huge, and they're like, oh, it's so cool, and we're like, yeah, you won't be that impressed if you ever come over. But we work everything, everything has a way that it flows through the shop, so everything flows very easy. It gets cluttered at times, and then we stop and clean everything up, and then everything, gets back to flowing right again and stuff. So, but we do cast everything in-house. We don't purchase anything from anybody. So we try to use as much, American-made product as we can. We outsource, anything that we source, like our packaging supplies. We have a local person that makes all of our, our card headers and our stuffs for our buzz baits and whatnot. So we try and do that as much as possible.
Everything's hand-tied.
Everything's hand-tied with wire. We get all of our wire from a jewelry, one of those artistic jewelry dealers or whatever. They make wire jewelry and stuff. So the wire will never corrode. It'll never rust. Never tarnish.
I'm learning all kinds of stuff.
I know it. So
I can't keep a bait long enough to know if it would corrode. I'm always losing mine.
Oh, I know. And and everybody's like, so what's the big deal with a wire tied bait? Why is it so much? Why is it better? Well, on a regular jig like a flipping jig or a football jig, I wouldn't say it's that big of a deal, because you're not worried about fish pulling skirts off like you would on a swim bait or on a swim jig, because they're nipping at it, and they always pulling the skirts off the spinner baits. It stops that, on those type baits. But when you're looking at a flipping style jig or you're dragging a jig, a wire tie is tighter. It's got a tighter pull to it, so it makes the skirts flare more, and it gives them more. It makes them more vibrant under the water, and it gives them more action. So it makes it look a little bit bigger too. Whereas a rubber band is loose, and it's just kind of just there.
Right. And can dry rot. Rubber band dry rot's pretty easy.
Yeah, rubber bands, if they aren't already dry rotted in the package, within a few months they're going to be dry rotted in your box. And you'll pick your jig up and you'll be like, well, that was cool. Yeah. That was cool. Never use it. I will say this. If they don't know who we are in 2023, by golly, they're going to know who we are in 2024. Because we've got something coming down the barrel that it's going to surprise a lot of people. It's going to shock a market. And they've never seen anything like it before. I'll talk about something that we've got coming down the barrel a little bit. I went and searched for a specific hook out in the market, and I couldn't find it. I've looked and looked and looked, and I know I can't see everything through whatever dealers that we use. So I called a friend of ours, Harry Simmons, called him. Hey man, I need a hook. He said, what do you need? And I told him what I needed. Well, you're not going to find it. I don't care, I need it. How can we make it? And he was like, he was kind of like, he's a little hesitant about it, this kind of stuff. And then I think he sat on it a minute and thought about it, and he called me back, And he was like, let's talk more about this hook. So I was like, well, and we talked a little bit about it, and this was back last year September, and it was just kind of one of those things. I just had an idea in my head, and we started talking more about it. November came around, Thanksgiving. He brought a whole slew of hooks, sample hooks, over to me. And we took a bunch of hooks and made one, and I got the samples in for it right at Christmas. And so we're currently now waiting on those hooks to come into the market. And we're still discussing how that bait's going to hit the market. And I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised. Probably going to get a little flack out of it a little bit, but but good. It's going to be in a good way. It's nothing negative. It's going to be a good thing. But yeah, that's coming down the barrel for 24, and that's we'll kind of hem-haw around about it to get a little bit more information out towards the end of 23. Yeah, we're gonna have a good time with it too. So it's gonna be fun. We already know our intro video, what we're gonna do.
I'm already shocked. I know, and I'm shocked.
Yeah, so there's a very, very, very small amount of people that know what it is, and when I told one of my close friends about it, all I heard was laughing on the phone. Cause you got to be kidding me. And I was like, no, really, being serious, man. He was like, nah. And I was like, yeah. And we talked about it on the phone. He was like, this is going to be hilarious. I was like, well, I think it's a good market. I think it's a good thing for the market. And, we have to wait we got to wait at least 8 or 9 months just to get the hooks in for it. And we had to order a lot. It's dumb.
So it better work.
Yeah, it better work. It will work. It will work. It will work. And we're going to, we're going to use our platforms to market it really well and put it out there and stuff. So
Cool.
yeah.
All right, tell me the fish you remember the most. Wait. For good. Then you're going to tell me for bad.
The fish I remember the most for good. I obviously remember my largest fish. And then I remember a day, the only 10-pounder I've weighed in on a tournament day. I remember that one like it was yesterday. It was the best thing. But my biggest fish came out of a pond in Texas, a little private stock lake. And she was over 12 pounds. I still remember that. I was fishing a spinnerbait. I love a spinnerbait.
Did you make the spinnerbait?
No, gosh, no. I was probably, I don't know, 22, 23 whenever that happened. And it was during spawn, and we're walking around, and she was over 12, just a little over 12 pounds. And I still remember it. It was like I was fishing Bass Pro rod with 14-pound monofilament, dragging this fish in. It was one of those where I was like, oh my gosh, man, I've never seen a fish that big in my life. And it was, it's pre-cell phone days, so it was like, there's no pictures. We didn't tote cameras around with us or anything. We were just out on somebody's, friend of ours farm out there catching. So it was like, I did catch it, and I still remember it. We measured it, and it was pretty awesome. Then we set her back. She went right back over to where she was. So, but yeah, tournament day, 10-pounder. We were catching them on the Yum Dingers, in the, you remember the Madman Tiki Sticks?
Yes.
Sweet potato pie. I just recently found some of those. But yeah, we caught, so that day we had a 10-pounder in the box, and we had a couple other good solid fish. We got second place in the tournament.
Was that Millwood?
Yes. Yeah, I've got, so I have four 10s under my belt at Millwood, and 2 of them during spawn, 1 post-spawn, and then one of them was just random fishing day on a firetail worm fishing on the edge of the river channel. But the reason why I remember that day is because where we were fishing at the entrance of that pocket, there's this huge stump. It's probably almost as big as this table. And I kept telling my buddy, I was like, we need to go over and fish that stump. Something tells me there's something over there. And he was like, nah, we ain't gonna fish that. We're gonna stay over here and keep doing what we're doing. And this guy slips in on us and fishes the stump. And I watched that man catch a 12-pounder off that stump.
Really?
Yes. And, you should have heard him over there. And we rolled up on him. We're like, how big is that fish? And we weighed it. And it was just under 12 pounds. It was like it was like 1190 something. You know, he put it on his scales, and we were like, oh my gosh, we could have caught that fish.
So that's a day you remember for good and bad.
Yeah, that was a day for good and bad. So it's one of those where you're like, geez, oh well, whatever. But a day that I'll remember that was one of those, I don't want to call it a bad day. It was a disappointing day. On my packages, I'm holding fish. And that day will live for me now because it's on my packages. It was over on Nimrod. My wife and I fished couples. And we were fishing over there, I guess it was 2 years ago. And I was on fish. And as soon as I went over there, first fish that went in the boat was almost 6 pounds. I was like, that's 6 pounders. First fish in the in the boat. And I caught another 4 pounder right after that. And then caught another one. So I had my four fish like right off the bat. I was like, dang, we're going for the 20 plus today.
Right.
Easy, big bag. And then I had a fish run up, 4 or 5 pounder, run up and hit my swim jig and ran straight into the flooded buckbrush. It stuck. I mean, it was head first into the buckbrush, and its tail was just kicking around trying to get out. And I'm pulling on this fish, trying to get it out, trying to get up to it. And when I got it out, jig went one way, the fish went the other. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. I think we got 5th place that day. And we had like 18 something. And so I was like, whatever. We're the 4th place kings out here, I'll get big bass. 586. That guy rolled up with a 587.
Really?
So I was backed up, went back to the camper. I was like, I'm done.
Nimrod's a special place.
Very special place. I love it. That's probably one of my favorite, aside from Millwood, that's my favorite place to fish in the state.
Well, I appreciate you very much for coming on the show.
I appreciate you having me out.
Tell everybody where to find you.
Well, obviously you can find us on social media. We're Facebook, Instagram, Brazalo Custom Lures. You can find us on TikTok. We have a lot of good content over there. If you're looking to shop with us, you can go to our webpage at BrazaloCustomLures.com. There is a list of almost all of the retailers that we're in. Central Arkansas, we're pretty much at every retailer in the vicinity around us. And if you can't find anything online that you want, give us a call. We can build it for you.
That'll work.
All right.
Thank you, Danny. Thank
Yes,
y'all
sir.
for tuning in to episode 4. We'll see you next time.
All right.